All right, Chicago Hockey Radio, Monday morning. Justin Tassos, no Lee. You will be able to catch him later tonight on the post-game show, and also on a live stream Wednesday against the Boston Bruins. Woo!
Hell yeah.
Yeah. As Lee would say, everybody up for that.
That's right.
That's going to be a great game, Original Six matchup. We're going to be doing a live stream every week this month, except for the week of Christmas, when Justin is in town. So the first two, I think, this week and next week are going to be just Lee. We're going to let everybody in on the plan right now. And then I think the week after that, Justin will be off of school. So I think we will do one all together, live stream one of the games. And the Hawks have 3 home games that week that you're back. So I think maybe we live stream one, we go to one, and then we don't see each other except for the post game for the other one. But
absolutely, that's a plan for me.
I think that would be. I think that should be the plan for that week, and we'll go from there. And then Christmas is kind of going to be a wash and rinse of. Smacking the mic right off the hop. Yeah, it's going to be kind of a repeat of last week with, no shows during the week. Maybe we'll do one the Monday, but probably not. Like, it would probably have to be like a pre-recorded kind of deal. Maybe we'll do something like that, like a Christmas special or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. Maybe something different, like a different kind of show. But yeah, so we'll do that, but we'll do the post games because I know the Hawks play that week too. So we'll stick to our post games because we are doing all of them.
Of course, got to have the post games.
Yeah, and we're not going to do, but we're trying to get this live stream thing going. We've had some wonky, Wi-Fi issues. The clock. Raven figured it out. Shout out Raven for always plugging it away. Like, we're getting better at it every time we do it. Like, this next one should be really great, and and Raven's going to be hanging around, especially for the ones that we do all together.
Sweet.
Yeah. Lot to get into today. We're going to kind of pack it all into the next hour here or so. Shout out. I am also going to go plug. So stick around for Lee's live stream on Wednesday. They're doing a post-game show tonight after the Leafs game. It should be good. Hawks on the second half of a back-to-back. I'm also going to be recording. We're recording this early in the morning because the Hawks play later tonight. So we are in my show's time slot. So I'm going to plug my show really quick. Good Morning Hockey. Since we snagged the morning slot, like I said, to record on Hawks game day, it's tough to do these 2-a-days when people aren't hitting that subscribe button too. So please continue to do that. But go listen to my show. I have some fun guests. No guests on today because we had to switch things around. But I have some fun guests on my show coming on this week. So be looking out for that, I guess. And I think we have some guests coming on here. I have maybe a fun guest or two coming on Chicago Hockey Radio
nice.
within the next week. Like in the next 3 shows, we'll have some cool guests and stuff too. December is going to be a really big month for us. So happy December, everybody. I'm going to throw it over to Justin here in a sec, but had to do all the housekeeping stuff out of the way first before we dig into the last place team in the NHL. But yeah, man, December's a big month. This is going to be fun. Like, I'm excited for this. This is going to be, the people have been listening. It's been really great. And, this is just, there's a lot of Hawks hockey. There's the Winter Classic at the end of it. Like, there's just so much that we have, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much that this month has. And, I don't know. How you feeling, brother?
Of course, got the World Juniors then the month too. But big month for hockey.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I was boots on the ground last night, the Columbus game, which we can talk a little bit more about. I mean, that game, I think you guys kind of nailed the post-game show. Just a frustrating, demoralizing loss. Yeah. I remember talking on the Wednesday post-game show against Dallas. Boy, that game was really great. I really hope it doesn't end up being a one and done and we could carry over some momentum going forward. And that's exactly what didn't happen in the Friday and Sunday games against our divisional rivals. Yeah, so that was disappointing to see for sure. Well, the Blue Jackets aren't our divisional rival. You get what I'm saying, right? I mean, that's another team that's kind of at our level skill-wise, maybe a little better. Maybe we kind of underestimate them a little bit because they do have some really talented players, man. It's not a bad team, and they definitely, Everson's got them working well, and I feel like they outworked us that game. It's like, we had a good start too. That was a frustrating thing. Like Bedsy power play goal, like less than 5 minutes in the game. Like you can't script a better start than that. And I do think that is the positive takeaway from Thanksgiving break is Connor Bedard. Like all 3 games, he looked like himself. Like he definitely looks like he's got his confidence back, his mojo back. So that's the strength, right? I think the line combos are starting to work better too. I know we've lost the last 2 games, but I do think we've got something going there. And I would still keep that rolling. I do like we've finally seen some continuity. I think 3 games of the same combos. I don't think we've seen that all season from Luke Richardson, so I do like that. Maybe you gotta make some changes, but I wouldn't. I think we got Soderblom tonight though, so that's good.
Mhm.
I think I was starting to think Luke forgot that Soderblom existed because he's had such a strong season, yet we've hardly seen him. He's played 6 games. Peter's played 18. So be nice to see Arvid, a known Maple Leafs killer, Arvid Soderblom. So hopefully we can get back to the win column against the Leafs. We've actually kind of had their number in recent memories. So I actually feel kind of optimistic for this game. I know the Leafs have had a good season. They're a much better team than we are, but it's exactly the type of game the Hawks are winning for no reason in a back-to-back. So hopefully they can pull that off after a disappointing game last night.
I said that on the post game show yesterday that the Hawks do have the Leafs number, and it just
Yeah,
the Leafs always play weird against the Hawks. I mean, I do want to stick with the Columbus game a little
yeah,
bit more before we
for
get
sure.
to tonight, and yeah, just so we don't get too off the rails here, but um, because the game yesterday it was a different game than it felt like a different game to me
Yeah.
Friday where Friday they played a really good hockey game and probably deserved to come out on the winning side of that one.
Outside of
And
17 seconds.
outside
Yeah.
of 17 seconds,
Yeah.
and then that was it. And
Mhm.
yesterday it felt like they went up 1-0 and then completely took their foot off the gas.
Mhm.
And um, yeah, I don't know.
From, from,
it did feel like 2 different games to me a bit.
from my perspective, it felt like after the Bedard goal, it's like it was 1 step forward, 2 steps back the entire night. Like we were always a step
Yeah.
behind. Because the Hawks were really bad to shift after goals last night. It didn't matter if we scored them or the Blue Jackets scored them. Like we had a hard time to shift after a goal. I don't know what's up with that. I feel like it's been kind of an issue all season too. So that's something they got to work on. But yeah, I think the Blue Jackets kind of sucked us into the kind of that high flying offensive ping pong style. And maybe that didn't work out for us. It's kind of a different game compared to most of the games we've seen this season have been low scoring, like defensive battles. That game last night was the complete opposite of that. And I think the Hawks maybe struggle with keeping up with the Blue Jackets from that aspect because they do got some talented players, right? We put the puck in the net. I mean, outside of Bedsy and a few others, we don't really have that same kind of skill level. So I think we had a hard time matching up to that. But it did feel frustrating because it felt like a game we could have won. I mean, I don't know if we were outplayed, but like I think it was closer than the score showed. It felt like one we could have come away with. I mean, Mrazek made some big saves, also led in a few muffins too. But and he's been playing well. I think he was due for kind of a meh game, but he did make that amazing highlight reel stop where he went the glove, which is pretty cool. He went out his net a few times too. It was definitely an entertaining Peter Mrazek game where you never really know what to expect with him. But be nice to see Arvin back in the crease though. But yeah, definitely one we would have liked to come away with. The Hawks are also 0-2 with me in attendance this year, so I don't know what's up with that. It'd be nice to get a win, see a win one of these days, but hopefully they'll win one during. Maybe they'll just save it up for the Winter Classic. Hopefully, maybe that's what they're doing. Yeah, hopefully during December, one of the games we go to, they'll give us a better performance there.
So we have a couple clips here. We have Alex Vlasic and we have Luke Richardson. Do you want to talk about the power play first, or do you want to talk maybe about
Sure.
like just yeah? Let's
Well,
do
that was a
power play first.
positive, right? I mean, all 3 of our goals were on the
Yeah.
power play. I thought it was cooking last night. Bedard, Smith, and Foligno. That last one was really nice. That was like tic-tac-toe there with Bedard, Table, Foligno, kind of similar to a goal we saw against the Sharks early in the season. But I thought the power play was really good, 3 for 6. One of them was a 5-on-3, so it's like you better score on that, but they did, to be fair. And yeah, I thought like special teams was a strength. I think we were perfect on the penalty kill as well. So you think a game where it's like we were 50% of the power play, perfect on the penalty kill, you think that's a game we would have won. But no, all 6 of the Jackets' goals were even strength. They killed us even strength. Special teams, we have their number, and which is kind of different compared to what we've seen this year, where it's like I feel like special teams sometimes doesn't show up and we're actually decent even strength. It was the opposite last night. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. Hopefully they can carry that over though and see more success in the power play. Get Bedard more production there. Like that'll be big for sure.
Yeah. Can we hear the first Vlasic clip on the power play?
I mean, sure, it's a good thing, I guess, but it doesn't really mean anything. Yeah, I mean, we've been feeling good about it, but still losing games, so it doesn't really help.
Yeah, he doesn't seem too thrilled. He doesn't seem too thrilled about it.
Yeah,
Um,
he doesn't have that same optimism. No.
no. Um, yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, eh, I've talked about the weight of losing on some of these players. Alex Vlasic is definitely one of those guys that you worry about this getting a bit out of hand for. I think he'll be all right. He's a young kid. There's there's a lot of room left in your career to have success, but you don't need to get that down this soon, especially if like he could be a power play guy. I don't know that when you get Korchinski and Levshinov and full-time NHLers that maybe Alex Vlasic is the guy quarterbacking the power play. Maybe he's the guy quarterbacking the second unit, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But I don't know that he's so. I think he feels pretty good about it. But I think you should feel pretty good about it too. Should we talk, or could we just run out the last clip of him too on having 6 shots on goal, just because he's also talking about the power play in that one too?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the power play, it's for me that's a big aspect of why I'm there. I think just kind of keeping it simple and getting pucks to the net, and had a number of good looks. I think I got to do a better job of scoring. I think on that partial breakaway, I might have been able to tuck that one in if I kind of just take it to my forehand instead of shooting on my backhand. So I'm just trying to contribute offensively since we've been struggling a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't know. Did you watch the whole Richardson presser from last night or no?
I saw some clips on it, on like a Bedard and like turnover stuff like that, but not the whole thing.
Yeah, just because like the Vlasic, like it's just a dark tone, man. Like it's just it's dark there for I don't know.
Vlasic strikes me as a very competitive guy. Like I did watch him in the CHGO podcast a couple weeks ago, and like you could see, like, he's a guy who just hates losing. I'm sure a lot of guys are like that, but with Vlasic, you can really see it. But I do think I've been impressed with his game though. Like he has 10 assists this season, Alex Vlasic. He had I think like 16 points all of last season. He has 10 already. So I think he's really slid into that kind of that Seth Jones role, and I think he's been doing a good job. So I think he's got to be more positive, to be honest. I get it, you more talk about the team there, but I think in terms of his own game, I've been really impressed. And even last night, like he was flying out there. He's such a good skater. Like I do think he's got an offensive side to his game where it's like I don't think we could completely rule him out there to be a power play specialist. Probably more of a second unit guy, especially as you mentioned, like right when Artie and Korchinski are on this team eventually. Like you would hope that they would be in those roles before Vlasic is, because he's more of a defensive guy. But I do think he's got more offense to his game than we expect, and maybe we think. And he could be a top pair guy for us. I think going into the season, I think we all said, oh, he's a number 4. He's a second pair guy. Vlasic, I think he's a top pair defenseman. I really think he is. I think he's that good, and I think 2026 Olympics, I wouldn't rule him out for a spot there. If he doesn't make 4 nations this year, I don't think it's out of question for Alex Vlasic. He could be Olympian Team USA in the future.
That's a lot to unpack right there. I think
I might be being biased. I don't know.
Maybe a little bit. I think Vlasic's like I think he's a really good 3. Like I think he's a really good 3.
He's better than a 4. Yeah.
He's better than a 4. I mean, if he was your 4, you're probably winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think my point is, like, obviously we want both Kevin and Artie to be the defenseman that we expect, right? But with Vlasic's emergence, like these past 2 years, it does make me feel better. Where it's like, okay, if one of those guys doesn't quite pan out the way we expect, at least like we have him. I guess that's more the point. Like I think he'd be better served being a second pair guy in this Hawks core, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if he was like the number 2 guy, like you would hope it would be Artie would be the number 1. Which, by the way, both he and Korchinski had amazing weekends in Rockford. I think it took a little bit of time for them to get going, but I watched those Ice Hogs games. I didn't see the one last night because I was driving, but I saw the highlights and they were cooking. I mean, that was probably the most confident I've seen them down there. So it's been a slow burner for that Ice Hogs season, but it's like when those prospects start to cook, like it gets me really excited, especially those defensemen that we're really looking forward to seeing up here. So it does make me feel a lot better for sure about our back end.
Should we play these Richardson clips? I mean, okay, so I want to talk before we play these Richardson clips, or even if we do or don't, I don't know. But I watched the whole presser, and it was like 7.5 minutes of an availability, and I guess maybe a little bit more. Maybe it was like 10 or 15 after they clipped it all up. But just like, you know, and there was one or two reporters in there who didn't really, they weren't asking, let's just say they weren't asking the most like educated question, or they didn't really know, like,
There's always those couple in the room, yeah.
yeah, they maybe don't know, they're maybe new to hockey or something, you know, which is
Yeah.
fine. You know, we want as many people covering the sport as possible. I shouldn't, sure, but so, but it just was so I want to maybe play the Bedard one first, Raven, just because I know that one's later. So I don't know, it's just like a weird dark tone, and you know, he was talking about some of these other things like the style of play and like the getting into a run and gun game with a team like Columbus at 5-on-5. And you know, I know the Blue Jackets are good. They got the trio Russians, you know, the Marchenko and the Voronkov's a beast, and you
Kent
know,
Johnson was so impressive last night. Look, every
he's
time he was out there, I
turned it
noticed
back
him.
on, you know,
Yeah,
after struggling a little bit, and everybody was kind of questioning him, right? And
yeah.
you know, Werenski's like
Mm,
amazing. I don't think
yeah.
people really understand how good Zach Werenski is as a hockey player, and
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
he's top 5, top 10 D in the league right now. Yeah.
Merzlikins isn't letting in beach balls like he used to, and you know, but I get it. But like, this is also like Columbus. Like, you should be able to, like, you know, I don't know,
That's a team you
that
should
we
be
need
able
to
to
be
play that
like,
style of game with,
I
right?
don't know that we need to be like, oh, they're a great team over there when this is like the Chicago Blackhawks and
They're
they're the
not.
Columbus Blue Jackets. Like,
Yeah, like
I don't
if
know.
there's any team we should be able to get away from our, defensive structure against and be able to hang with, it's the Blue Jackets are one of those teams. Like it's not like we're playing a high flying playoff team here. It's the Blue Jackets. Like, are they better than maybe we give credit for? Yes, but like nobody has any
Great team over
expectations
there.
of this team. Yeah, like they're a team that's kind of I look at our rosters, like that's not really that much better. I don't even know if it is better than our team,
I
but they
bet
just
a lot of
outworked us.
people, I bet a majority of people in hockey predicted the Blackhawks to finish ahead of the Blue Jackets this season.
I mean, the Blue Jackets are a popular pick to finish dead last in the
Dead
NHL.
last.
I mean, so yeah, I don't really want to hear that from Luke. I think that's kind of excuse making for my side of it, but we'll hear more what he has to say, I
But
guess.
yeah, can we play
Yeah.
the Bedard one first, Raven?
Yeah.
Is that going to help him?
No, he was definitely, it looks definitely more like himself the last few games, but on the defensive side of things, we have to be better, and so does he. He can't score one and give up two. Right, same as anybody else on the team. So we got to make sure that he's continuing to do his thing, and someone on that line. And sometimes it's him, and he was the one that back checked on that goal. Unfortunately, it didn't get to his stick, but I think he's doing a good job on the power play. I think he's moving it quick, and he's striking when it's time for him, and he's making the plays when it's not his time. So he looks like he's back on track. So we just got to make sure as a team we got to stay on track as a team.
I don't know. Like, it's just weird to me. It's just, it's a little weird. Now it's starting to feel a little weird where it's like a stepdad almost that's lost the, connection with his stepson. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's weird. It's a weird dynamic. I don't know what's really going on there. Like, you're calling him out for letting it, like, being on the ice for 2 goals against and pinning them on him a little bit. And I just, it is on him, but I don't know that you got to like say it like that when the guy really wasn't even looking. The guy who asked the question wasn't even really looking for an answer like that. Like, he,
I will
like,
say I'm
it
not a
was just
fan
weird
of
to me. It was just weird to me. I didn't, but that was like the whole tone of the press conference. Like, the whole thing was weird. So,
I'm not a fan of Luke calling him out like that. I mean, look, I have different perspective from the stands that he does as a coach, but I don't think any of those goals that Bedard was out there were really. I mean, could there have been something he did better there? Maybe, yeah, he was out there for him, but I don't think those goals were really on him, to be honest with you. And there was one play, I don't know if you noticed, where like he totally sacrificed his body to make a block, and he stayed out the rest of the shift. So he played some good defense too at that game. Would have been nice if Luke said something about that. Maybe he did. I couldn't hear the clip, but yeah, I mean, plus he got your goal. I thought he was fine last night. It was good in the power play too, multi-point game. If you're gonna put, this game, or I know he's not really saying the game was on Bedard, but like I thought he had a strong night. So to be more negative like that, and not be praising him for, his growing confidence in his game getting better, instead to take that kind of tone, I think is really disappointing to me.
I thought he was just all right, to be honest with you. Like I didn't think he was good or bad. I just thought he was all right. And there are times like that. I think there are games where I think he would say he played bad, in some of these games. Like not really, but I don't know that he's looked like maybe there's like one or two games where he's looked bad.
I thought he was. I mean, maybe it's. I think you see the game differently in person versus TV, but in person, I thought he was fantastic last night. He also had enough almost. Bedard has one of the most impressive almost highlight reels of all like I've ever seen. Like if he could just finish, I don't know if you saw that play where it's like he absolutely dingled the hell out of the Columbus D, and if he would have scored on that, that's a 2-goal game right there. Again, if right, and yeah, okay, he was a minus. I think he was a -4, which I still kind of figure out how that happened. Maybe they changed that up afterwards. I think Lee was confused about that too, because I don't remember seeing him out there for 4 goals. But anyway, and plus he was out there for 2 of ours. But anyway, I thought he had a strong night. I mean, was his best? No, but I think he just looked so much more confident. I think like that line too, like he set up Kershaw a few times, he couldn't finish. That's on Phil, right? Like I think you those two, it's like if he could just bury those chances, Hall too, like he looks a lot better out there, right? But when your line mates aren't finishing and you're stuck in your D zone, it makes you look worse than you are. But I thought he had a strong game last night. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't super impressed. All right, can we just play the last Richardson clip and then we'll talk about tonight?
Feeling the workload a little bit right now?
I don't know. I think obviously that was a tough luck one in Minnesota, obviously for him to give that up. But and he obviously knows that. But he wants this workload. He wants these games. He feels healthy. He made some spectacular saves again tonight. We have to do a better job of the game plan against a certain team like this. They're dangerous on the line rush and they leak that way. If we can stay above them in most areas, like guys like Wierenski and their speedy forwards, it helps out our D and it helps out our goaltender. So I don't think we did a great job, in front of him tonight.
Well, given that it seemed like there were some.
Oh, Raven, can we cut it there? So that was also a different clip than I thought was going to be played. I thought it was going to be the turnover one.
You gave me 3.
I gave you 3, and then we played 1, and then no, that was my bad.
And so I was going to play both of them together because they're right back to back. But
they're so okay. So the one that was played, so we should talk about that, I guess. I mean but we could just talk about Mrazek right now too, and this is kind of like both yesterday and today, and just like a more overarching Hawks topic. Is Mrazek starting to feel the workload a little bit? Richardson obviously just said no on that clip. That it was more the team in front of him as far as maybe. But I would say last night, I told Lee that like yesterday was the first game where I thought the goaltending was bad.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So. If we're talking about it, like it's a very recent development. Like us talking about it at 9:30 in the morning Central is live on YouTube is very relevant. Like
I do think Peter's game's starting to fall off, starting to up. But like I think like it's like you said, it is a recent thing. Like I think for the most part this season he's been great. So it's like when there's a sudden change there, I think he started 4 or 5 consecutive games now. I can't even remember the last game Soderblom started. And you're gonna watch last night's game and say, oh, like I don't think the workload's getting to him. Like I don't agree with that at all. I think a good thing Soderblom is starting tonight because I mean watching Peter, if he's let in more like I guess softies compared to what we're used to. Even the Wild game, like that 3rd goal, like Peter 9 times out of 10, 99 times. 9 times out of 100 is making that stop. So made some big saves last night, but just also some goals where it's like, how do you not have that, right? It's like when you see that, it's like it's pretty clear. I think like when you're facing all these shots every game, it's like I think it is getting to him a little bit, and that's pretty fair, right? That's not on him. I think the defense too, could be something to set for that. I think we definitely were missing Seth Jones last night, but yeah, I mean it's not on him. I think, but yeah, I think from my perspective, it is getting to him a little bit.
Yeah, you kind of flip-flopped a little bit. You said no, and then you ended. You convinced yourself on a yes. So, yeah. I agree with you. The thing I was going to ask, like, has Soderblom hasn't started consecutive games this season, right? Like,
he's only. No, he hasn't. He's only played 6 games. And like I feel like he goes like weeks between games, I swear. Like, he's been so good this year. And yet they still don't seem to trust him. I get he had a bad year last year, but that was last year. You know what I mean? It's like I think you gotta show more trust and like get more of a tandem situation going here. I think it's gonna get more out of Peter too. I mean, he's a guy who's Mrazek, who's I know he's been durable with the Hawks, but that's been the case throughout his career. It's like I worry like if we start him too much, he's gonna, he might have an injury or something. We can't afford that. So I think we got to give him more of a rest here and give Soderblom more trust. I mean, he has a 926 save percentage. He's been fantastic in the few games we've seen him. I don't know why we're not starting him more often. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at his game log right now, his last 5. So these are the dates of his starts, okay? So October 11th at Winnipeg, October 19th versus Buffalo, so 8 days. November 3rd at Anaheim, so that's over 2 weeks.
It's like 2 weeks.
Yeah. This is the biggest, or this is the closest in between November 3rd and November 7th at Dallas. So that was like 4 days in between starts. I was trying to see if they played a game in between then. I'm sure they did. And then November 16th and then November 19th. And he hasn't played since November 19th.
See, that's exactly my point. That wasn't any hyperbole. He's literally goes weeks between starts, and like, why? For what reason? I would love to hear the reason.
Yeah.
Because the way he's played, I mean, he hasn't had a bad game. Arvid Soderblom hasn't had one bad game.
Nope.
So, and Peter's had a few. I mean, but he starts more often, so you expect that, right? If Soderblom is having that workload, it would be the same thing, maybe worse because he's less experienced. So I don't mean the dog on Peter. I think he was probably due for a game like this, and he's been so strong. We know he's not the most consistent goaltender too. But yeah, I think we need to give him more of a break. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, but oh man, I mean, Soderblom's numbers are so bad, but you have to look at them in a vacuum right now. And, I would say if you're Luke Richardson, give Soderblom the next 2, like give him the next 2 and give him 3 of the next 4 starts and see what happens. Like,
yeah,
just
right.
If the wheels fall off the bus, then you really know you can't play this guy, and maybe he has just gotten good at playing every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
but
you don't know if you don't try, right? So I think that's a good point, right? Plus, it allows Peter to kind of reset too. So I think there's not really a flaw in that. I think it works for both goalies. Yeah.
Okay. So we got that out of the way. We don't need that last Richardson. The other Richardson clip that I was talking about that I thought was going to be played before was it was about just casual turnovers a lot, leading to Blue Jackets goals.
There were a lot of turnovers last night.
Yeah. And they just they looked lazy. They looked lackadaisical. It wasn't really coherent a lot of the time. And like I said, after the Bedard goal, it just felt like the foot came off the gas a bit.
Yeah, that was the frustrating thing. Like when Bedsy sets a tone that early in the game, it's like I was like, oh hell yeah, right? This is the game we're going to be seeing. Like I expect them to carry that momentum forward, but they couldn't do it. The Hawks have had an issue with that for most of the season. Outside that Stars game, they just have a hard time keeping momentum going and playing these looking like the same team from period to period, shift to shift. I've said that so many times, but it continues to be the case this season. Yeah.
So tonight, the Maple Leafs second half of back-to-back, you got a rested, hungry Toronto Maple Leafs side waiting at home for the Blackhawks, who I assume got on a plane right after last night's game and flew right over to Toronto and got in late. Or they probably didn't get in that late since the game was early. But even still, yeah, what do you think the Mitch Marner contract is going to look like, and how do you think that impacts the Blackhawks?
Ooh, well, let's see. Drysdale is making $14 million. He's probably going to be a little below that, I would think. I think Ratton thinks he can make $14 million, so I imagine Marner probably thinks he can too. He could be making $14 million plus, but I don't know if he's quite. I would probably put it below that. At least 12.5, 13, maybe over 14. Are you asking Hawks? Are you thinking maybe that's a guy they potentially look to poach there, or what do you?
Okay, so I've looked at this a few different ways. Mitch Marner has always been a player that I think the Chicago front office has kept a distant eye on.
Yeah.
At least, I think especially after winning the first overall pick and Bedard and all that, and should Mitch Marner actually make it to July 1 unsigned, I think the Hawks would throw a lot at Mitch Marner. And on a 7-year deal which is all he's eligible to sign for unless they trade for his rights earlier. I don't know that it would be I don't know because it's Toronto and you got to pay more there. The taxes are different. Like the taxes are really high in Canada. There's different issues with, I mean, he's Canadian, he's from there, so it's not really an issue, but there's like things in place for like Americans buying homes in Canada. It's different, right? And you almost have to like pay the Toronto tax too. Imagine if he gets more money than Austin Matthews, though. Like, you
that
know,
would be
it's
wild.
just, it would be wild.
That wouldn't feel right. Yeah.
No,
I mean,
but what if he's like, oh, I just want a little bit more than Austin?
yeah, I mean, the cap's going to keep going up. The market's just going to keep changing. So it wouldn't shock me if that happened. But yeah, I mean, if he is available July 1st, which that's a big if, he could very well be done by then. I would say, though, between the two, if he and Rantanen are available, I'd rather go after Rantanen than Marner. But let's say in this case, Rantanen's locked up and Marner isn't. If I'm the Hawks, though, I would absolutely. You gotta go in there. I mean, we've been talking about
Lee would be
I know Lee would not
against it. Lee would not agree.
I know he doesn't like Marner as much. You know, he doesn't show up at the playoffs. Yeah. Well, you gotta get to the playoffs, right?
Yeah, that's not you have to get to the playoffs. Yeah. I think Mitch Marner with Connor Bedard, that is an automatic ticket to the playoffs every year for the next 7 years.
And we've been talking about this like all show. Like, you know, Betsy's been lacking that line mate, right? It's like we could go maybe this last season where that's the issue, but last year of his entry-level contract, like I want somebody on his wing that can absolutely play with him, hang with him, kind of get him that true breakout season, right? You know, not to say he's probably already broken out, but you know what I mean? Like take that next step in his game, because this year's been more of the same as last year, which isn't a bad thing. I wouldn't call it a regression. I think it's more of a flat line, but I think with Mitch Marner on his wing, he could take that next step and really emerge as the player that everybody expects him to be. Got to get the confidence in his game and not only get the ball rolling for him, just get the ball rolling for the Hawks.
He's playing like it. I don't know if you've watched a lot of like Maple Leafs hockey this year.
He's had a great season, right? No, he's got like, 31 points and with 23 games. Out, yeah, he stepped up.
He was sick. And so was John Tavares too. And, you know, talk about a guy that like gets stripped of his captaincy and, you know, like goes in there and now it's like he's
responded the right way.
He looks more like the captain there than he ever did with the C on his chest. And
maybe a little less pressure, right?
Yeah.
I think that probably helps him too. I mean, it's hard. There's always pressure in Toronto, you know, but I think with him, it's like I think if anything, it's kind of allowed him to reset his game, and he looks more like himself. Probably the closest version to his Islanders self. For like his first couple years in Toronto, he was as good as he ever been. So he looks more like that now. That's good to see. I think that Toronto team, I've been impressed with how they've stepped up. You know, with Matthews gone, and that's not just this season. I saw a stat like the least record without Austin Matthews is actually like really good. I think that they tend to figure it out or something. They tend to lock in when Matthews is out of the lineup. So that's pretty impressive. And yeah, Marner always seems to step up.
They should trade him here. They should trade him here to the Hawks.
Exactly right. But yeah, of course Matthews comes back right when we play them. So all signs of this matchup you look at it point to a Leafs dub. But I mean, it wouldn't shock me if this is a game the Hawks would win, just because the Hawks have had the least number in recent memory. They did win both their games last season. I think they may have won both their games the season before that too. If I remember correctly, that was the year that Kane had that hat trick or something. But yeah, the Hawks have had their number. Arvid Sodblom has had the least number. I think that's why he's starting today. He didn't start last night.
I think it's like 3 of his 8 career wins or 4 of his 8 career wins are against the Maple Leafs.
Something like that. It's absolutely insane. Like before the season. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's a back-to-back, but like they have had rest, right? Because last night was an afternoon game, so it's not really a true like back-to-back in a sense where it's like a late-night game followed up by another late-night game. So they've had, I think, enough rest, enough time to reflect, and the Hawks too tend to play better against teams that are better versus teams that are closer to them skill-wise. So, and plus they tend to respond after a game like that. So it wouldn't shock me if the Hawks won a game like this. They are dead last in the NHL right now too. They've gone through the cycle of last and then just kind of flipping back and forth between us and the Predators. So maybe we could keep that trek going here.
I will say though, maybe the Maple Leafs are also evidence of sometimes a coaching change is maybe the thing. You know, I know the coach, you know, no matter how any of us feel about Luke Richardson, the coaching isn't the difference between this team suddenly flipping a switch and becoming a Stanley Cup contender all of a sudden. But with the Maple Leafs, you could see that it is like, I think this team is actually at least
Ruby's a great coach.
The way they think, like, and he's really different than Sheldon Keefe.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Like
He's more willing to get on his guys. Keep is more of a player's coach, right? Berube, he'll lay into you, right? If you're not up to par. And I also think the team's playing well right now, but I think Berube is going to be perfect come playoff time, right? Like that's exactly the type of coach this Leafs team needs in the playoffs to make that next step. And it wouldn't shock me if this is the season they did it at all.
Yeah. So that's like, that shows a lot to me. And I don't know. No, I think that like in my head, I'm thinking like, oh, this is a game where the Hawks are going to go in there and like get a fluky win. But also like, I don't know. I think the likelihood for them to go in there tonight and get pumped also exists.
It's very high. Yeah.
All right.
There's going to be no in between there. They're going to grease out the ugliest win you've ever seen or get absolutely pumped. Yeah, there's no in between. It's going to be an interesting game for sure.
Yeah, that'll be. I'm glad I'm not on the post game tonight, just in case for that potential boom bust.
Could be an ugly one. It could definitely be an ugly one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up a Maple Leafs fan too. I don't know. Lee likes to dox me for that on this.
But you're not still a Leafs fan, are you?
Not really. Like, look,
not the same as the
when
Hawks.
You're like, no. Well, yeah, not the same as the Hawks now. But I don't know. To be honest with you, like, and this sounds weird, but like, when you're like kind of doing the thing, like, I know you run like a Hawk specific Instagram account, but like, when you're like working for the teams and you're doing the thing and when you see how the thing is made, when you see how the hot dogs are made, when you see how the sausage is made, it's you become more fans of like, like we all have friends that like play hockey and like play pro hockey. You and I played hockey, Lee didn't, but he
thinks he can beat us in roller hockey. What a joke that is. We got to show him up.
Yeah, no, dude, we would dust him. We'd skate circles around him. That's not even, that doesn't even cross my mind. But I just, you become more fans of people than teams, right? Because the teams are just, symbols of, people who have generally probably exploited a lot of people to get their wealth and, get to where they are. And, I won't lie and say that part of what we are doing isn't in the name of wanting to give people more opportunity in hockey, right?
Of course.
And sometimes that's been an issue in hockey, right?
The culture, right? The boys club, right? For sure.
Long-winded answer, but so I, more fan of like, nowadays, like my grandfather's still a Leafs fan, so if they won the Stanley Cup, I would be pretty happy, like watching them do it. But I would also be just as happy watching the Chicago Blackhawks win the Stanley Cup, especially now that we are doing this show, because that would be
great for the show. Yeah,
that would be excellent for the show. Let's get 3 Stanley Cups incoming, actually, please. That would be great.
We got to stick with it for the long haul. We might be a ways away from that, but I mean, never say never, right? I mean, we could get there eventually with this prospect pool.
Let's have the Leafs win the Stanley Cup this year, and then Mitch Marner walks to free agency and signs with the Blackhawks, and then next year it's the Hawks.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
That would hurt our Leafs first rounder, though. That's the only negative there, but we got to take you. Yeah, true. But anyway, I mean,
if we're flip that. I mean, I don't think you could. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, if we're going to finish this year, we're going to have a very high first pick anyway. So I mean, I don't think it's going to matter as much anyway at this rate. So yeah, we might be winning the lottery again for all we know.
I was going to ask this question on my show. Let's just do it. Okay, so
I don't think they will.
Well, so man, I was going to save this for my show, but I'll put this out there now. Do you think you're not like, I'm a junior hockey guy. Like I really get excited for the World Junior. Like I love the World.
I love
Juniors.
The World Juniors.
Yeah, but I love.
But it's really the only time of year I care about
Memorial
junior
Cup guy. Are you
no?
Like I'm like paying attention to some of the teams like in the lead up to the Memorial Cup. Like I'm checking to see who's good in like the CHL power rankings and stuff. I'm not like sitting there like crushing junior hockey games. Like I won't profess to that, but I am like keeping tabs on seeing what's going on around the league and seeing where some of these prospects are playing well and where some of them are maybe not.
I should care more about the Memorial Cup. I know it's a big deal. I know it's more of a Canada thing. I only pay attention to it, but I probably
Gavin McKenna, though, correct?
Oh yeah, well aware.
Okay.
Yeah, 26. Oh yeah.
Do you think?
I see where this is going.
Do you think Gavin McKenna would go first overall if he was eligible for this year's draft?
Ooh, that's interesting. You know what? I actually think he would.
I think he would.
I think he would. I think he's that good.
The first overall pick.
Yeah, I'd take him.
If the Hawks had the first overall pick and Gavin
1000%.
McKenna was available for 2025, I would step up to the podium and take
Because
him.
I think there's a lot of forwards who I kind of see on the same level right now, like Higgins, Martone, Misa. I have a hard time separating them. McKenna, you could separate McKenna from the pack, right?
Yeah.
Like he's definitely. I don't want
I
to
think
jump the gun.
he leads the CHL in scoring right now.
He does, yeah. Like his stats, you would think he's upcoming in this draft. I don't want to jump the gun and call him generational yet, but he definitely could be that type of player. I don't know if he's as good as Bedard. I'm not going to go that far, but I mean, you look at what he's doing. His stats definitely in the WHL, they line up. So yeah, I think whoever gets him at 26.
That's going to be like my question of the week. I think I'm going to ask different people that are kind of in the know that come on my show this week if they think McKenna would go, and I'm going to text some buddies of mine that are in the scouting kind of prospect world and see what they think about it.
I think he's playing the NHL next season.
I think he could. Yeah, heck yeah. That's what they said about Bedard, like that he absolutely could have played. Yeah, I think he could have. I don't think he would have been great, but I think
he would have won the call there, but I think he would have been like an NHL player. Yeah. Second liner on a better team. I think on the Hawks he probably would have struggled, but yeah.
Okay, before we get to, any Ice Hogs talk, let's do the Ice Hogs. I mean, Nazar and Levshinov have looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we got
fantastic. Nazar's got like 21 points in 17 games down there, 1.20 something points per game. Man, I almost feel like there's something you normally do when a player shows he's too good for the league they're currently in. I can't quite put my finger on what that is, but anyway, he's been doing great down there. And Artie and Kevin have finally started to get going too. Levshinov, he's such an interesting player to watch, man. Such a weird player to watch because he has such an awkward style, but he makes it work. Like he just moves so effortlessly where it doesn't look like he's trying out there, but he is, but he just gets around. And his games finally started to come together down there. Like he's looked so much more confident lately. He had a goal last night. These look more like I could see the vision. I could see why they picked him number 2. And yeah, I think I just get more excited when I see that. And Kevin too, right? Just to see him get his confidence back. And when he was in a rough spot, I think he's finally started to show what he can do as well. So, and the Ice Hogs got a win this past weekend. They won over the Wolves last night, although they did lose 2 games before that. They're 7-9-2 in the season, which is definitely, I would have expected better than that. But you know what? When the young players that you are going to be on the future of this team are playing well, that's what matters to me, right? Like that's the most important thing. And the big 3 down there had great weekends. So I'm happy with that.
All right, I was going to ask you this now, but I will save it for the NHL hour so you can think about it. And should the Hawks have been in on the David Jiricek trade? We'll talk about it in the NHL hour when we come back from a break. Good cliffhanger for everybody. Subscribe to this podcast. We're going to take a short break here on Chicago Hockey Radio, but please subscribe, follow us on Instagram, do all that fun stuff, and we'll be back with the NHL hour. Keep it here. All right, NHL Hour, Chicago Hockey Radio, Justin Lynch, Tassos Kirkos, Raven Gasser. Happy Monday, everybody, and happy December as well. Back at it to talk about the National Hockey League as a whole, as we just zeroed in on the Blackhawks for the better part of 40 minutes there. Here to wrap up, we are actually... Oh, I left my list on the other side of the table here. Let's see. Oh, sorry, Mike. There we go. All right. Whoops. Let's. Do you have your rosters ready? You ready to
That's
go?
Right. Yeah. The Sweden. Yeah, I got it.
Let's do this first, and then we'll 3 games in the National Hockey League tonight. Like I said, if you're looking for more in-depth NHL, listen to Good Morning Hockey coming out after this sometime a little later. Probably closer to noon Eastern today. But let's do 4 nations. Where do you want to start? Sweden, Finland?
Let's start with the Swedish and then end with the Finnish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
End with the Finnish. I like that.
Exactly.
All right. Let's do the players that we have that are the same.
Of course.
Raven, could you look up who the pre-named players were already? I have them listed for Finland, but I forgot to put a star next to them for Sweden. Who are the 6 players already named? But I'm sure we have a lot of players that are the same already. That include
Lucas
those
Raymond,
guys.
William Nylander. I'm sure we have both.
Raymond's the first guy you list. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, probably. Oh, his first guy I thought of.
William Nylander.
Elias Pettersson. I'm sure we both have him.
Yep.
Philip Forsberg.
Yep.
I know he's had a tough year. Mika Zibanejad.
That was a tough
I know he's had a
one.
tough year, but I still feel like you got to put him in there.
He's legitimately my 13th forward right now.
That's fair. That's fair. Eriksson Ek. I imagine we both have him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesper Bratt.
I was just gonna say Jesper Bratt. Yeah. Kempe. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have
William Eklund?
I do not have William Eklund on my team.
Ooh, okay.
Although now that you said it out loud, I am thinking about it. Do you have William Karlsson on your team?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, wait. No, I got Leo Carlson. I don't have William Carlson.
I would put William Karlsson on your team.
Yeah, you're probably right. Maybe take out.
Okay, but that's a good idea. So Eklund is a good. I didn't even think about it. Yeah, that totally. You know who else too? Fabian Zetterlund has been really good too on that same team.
I actually have Zetterlund on here. Maybe I'd swap out William Carlson.
Well, I had Elias Lindholm and Rickard Rakell on my team too.
I do actually have both of them, but maybe I don't know the way Lindholm's been playing. I don't know. Maybe he's the odd man out here.
Yeah. Do you have Backlund on your team?
Oh, yeah, I should have Backlund because he's such a good 4-flying guy. Yeah. I was kind of going more off of. I need to think more about the role players here. Yeah, I'm mostly going off of like 13, I guess, best, but that's obviously not how they make these.
But
rosters.
Eklund's a good call. Eklund and Zetterlund are both really good calls. And honestly, like I would be inclined to put those 2 in over guys like Zibanejad and Elias Lindholm.
Honestly, looking at it now, honestly, that's probably what I would do too. Because what are those guys going to do in a 4th line?
And Rakell's been like shooting in the net a little bit the last couple.
He's looked more like himself this season. He had a bit of a tough year past couple, but he's looked more like himself. Not one bright spot on a rough Pens team. Yeah.
All right. Defense. I assume we all have Hedman,
Dahlin, Erik Karlsson.
Erik Karlsson. Yeah, he was one of the Raven. Did you find the 6 that were named?
Yeah, so Erik Karlsson, Victor Hedman, and Gustav Forsling for the defensemen, and for forwards, it's Mika Zibanejad.
He was one of the 6.
He was one of the 6.
Yikes!
Wow.
William Nylander,
the Brad Marchand of Canada, of
Philip Forsberg.
Wow.
I think that's why I put him there. I think maybe I just assumed he was one of the 6, but
Jesper
maybe they're
Bratt
regretting
is so
that now.
good, dude. Like Jesper Bratt is so good.
Everybody always talks about Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes, but I feel like he kind of flies under the radar there.
They would not be a cup contender if it weren't for how good. And wasn't he like I don't know that he was a 6th-round draft pick, but like.
I think he actually was. He was late. He was a late pick. I think he was a 6th-rounder. But getting back to the defense, I think
so
Ekholm,
Hedman, Forsling, and Karlsson are.
You got Ekholm?
I do have Ekholm, yeah.
And Rasmus Anderson.
And Dahlin too. So okay, so I initially I put, so we have the same top 4 and I have Karlsson as my 7. My bottom pairing was Hampus Lindholm and Jonas Brodin. And
okay.
But now you said Rasmus but then I have like Rasmus Anderson with 3 question marks on here. So I think they're gonna name Hampus Lindholm to the team, but I don't think you should. And I think you should put Rasmus Anderson on the team instead. But I would put Hampus Lindholm on the team instead of Erik Karlsson, but you already named Erik Karlsson.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Know? Like,
yeah, it's like
I'd probably put 3 other guys in front of him too.
I feel like some of these teams, like they name those first 6 guys more like out of show than like necessarily like maybe going into the season they'd be the best fit, but it's like they went with the most like notable players of some of them, but not like necessarily the best fit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're probably regretting that now. Also, I got Simon Edmondson as my 70. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I put him in there. He's probably not gonna make the team.
I think Brodin is so good, and so is Anderson, and I totally forgot about
guys. I totally forgot about Brodin. Yeah, he should be there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see though. Goalies: Ullmark, Markstrom, right? And then
Markstrom, Ullmark. I got Arvid Soderblom. No, I'm just kidding. I got Gustafsson. I got Philip Gustafsson as the third goalie.
That's probably dumb of me putting Wallstead instead of. I just thought that would be fun. You know, you bring the young future of Swedish hockey. You know,
that actually makes sense, right? Because having 3 starters, like, what's that going to do for your like? Only 2 of them are going to play. It's like with Wallstead, you can kind of learn, right? Because he's going to be that guy in the future for them. So that probably makes more sense, to be honest. Yeah.
Do you think? And maybe it is the team that we're going to talk about next in Finland, but is there a team that isn't going to play their backup goalie?
Ooh,
like
just
that's just going to ride the starter.
Oh, that's actually interesting. Well, the thing is, I think Finland could kind of do that because they could probably rely on UC Saros.
I think they're going to have to rely on UC Saros.
Yeah, because I don't know if you trust. I know Lincoln and Lukin have had decent seasons, but do you really got to trust them on the international stage? I don't think so.
Maybe I'd give UPL a start, but we'll talk about Finland. But
with Sweden, I think you can rotate Markstrom, Ullmark. I think USA, you got 3 strong ones. Canada, I mean, it's anybody's game there. I mean, that's going to be, who knows what's going to happen with them. But yeah, if there's any team you can make an argument, I think it's Finland. Yeah.
All right. So who? Oh yeah, your third goalie was Gustafsson. Yeah. All right. Finland.
Yeah, I think we all probably have Mikko Rantanen and Sebastian Aho. Yeah.
So okay, so I do. So who were Raven? Do you have the 6 for Finland too?
No, but I can get that right now.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be good. I know I have 3 of them or 4 of them listed. 5. I just don't know who the 6 is. It's Saros. Duh. No, I have it. It's Rantanen, Barkov, Aho, Heiskanen, Lindell, Saros.
Okay.
That was the 6. So
do
we all have those 6, obviously.
How about Lundell?
Lundell.
Yeah, Anton Lundell. Yeah.
Yeah. I have Anton Lundell. I have Rupe
Teuvo
Hintz.
Teravainen. Yeah.
I do have Teravainen. I have
Hintz,
right?
Hintz. Yeah.
Do you have Mikael Granlund?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
Lehkonen, Arturi Lehkonen.
I do have Arturi Lehkonen. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Do you have Eetu Luostarinen?
I actually do. I think he'd be perfect 4th line guy.
Yeah, me too. So I have this is where it gets wild for me. Like, this is actually a team.
I still have Patrick Laine.
The
I know he's
defense
had
is
injury
a mess.
problems.
Yeah, I have Patrick Laine on my team.
Yeah, you still got to have him. Yeah,
I have him on my team. You have to. This team needs.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. I mean, it's very, like, you could definitely separate the top 6 and the bottom 6 of Finland. You can't say that for, I think, the other 3, but with Finland, there's definitely a divide there for sure.
Oh yeah.
This is where it gets really tricky. I do have Capo Kakko. Do you have Kakko?
So can I bring up another name first before we get to Kakko though? Because I have him higher up in my lineup than I have Kakko right now. Matthias Michelli.
I do have him. Yes.
Yeah, I have him playing in my top 6 really, or at least in my top 9 right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Depending on where they decide to put Hintz, and if because they could have a 3-headed monster down the middle of Barkov, Aho, and Hintz if they play their card. Like, that's unbelievable, dude.
That's a strong set. That might be the best 1-3 set. Well, I don't know the best, but that's pretty damn good.
It's better than Sweden's. Sweden's got more talent on the wings than
just more depth overall, but. I think with Finland, what scares me with this tournament is like they do have defined roles on this team. I think with some teams are going to struggle to figure that out, especially in a short tournament like this. Like Finland, you could definitely see that. So I think they might be underrated going to this tournament, to be honest with you.
Okay, so we have 11 forwards that are the same here, and then technically 12 because Capo Kakko.
I got my last guy's Kakaniemi. I'm not sure about that one.
So there were like a bunch of other guys. I put Eli Tolvanen in there.
Okay.
But he hasn't been really good this year.
That's why I left him out. Yeah.
There's also guys like Eric Howla that could be on the team.
I thought about him. He was like my last cut. Yeah.
Joel Armia too, but like if the Montreal Canadiens are healthy scratching you, then
Yeah, then you probably should have picked Team Finland. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, I don't know. Wait until we get to this defense. They might be pulling guys from the Finnish Liga to.
I had struggled to find seven NHL defensemen. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the defense then. So
Miro Heiskanen, I think that's the obvious one.
well, him and
then
Lindell were the
yeah.
guys named. Buddy, I mean, I
Nico
don't know.
Mikkola.
Yeah.
Ristolainen.
Yeah, but like barely.
Barely. Olimata.
Yes.
Henry Jokiharju.
Yep.
And then the last guy is Valimaki.
Yeah, I thought about Yanni Hakanpää too, but
Yikes.
this is the other thing too, where like, do you think any teams are going to be hesitant about letting players go to this thing in the name of injury?
Do they really have a say with that?
I don't know, I guess.
Because I would think like if the team picks
It's not the
like,
Olympics.
Because it's NHL, it's an NHL sanction. It's not IIHF. So I would think like if you're picked, you gotta go, right?
Yes.
But
if we're talking Yanni Hakanpää here, you know, but I've also heard this about like, you know, Maple Leafs fans are not thrilled. You know, we'll talk since we've talked a lot of Maple Leafs today with the Hawks game tonight, and you know, Austin Matthews just coming off of you know, a month-long injury. Do the Maple Leafs really want him going to play these games that really don't mean anything in the long run, right? You won the inaugural Four Nations face-off.
Oh, that might go down to history books. What a legacy!
Like you're telling me Austin Matthews isn't going to be on the Olympic team if he doesn't play, like in the Four Nations face-off? Like no.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think in terms of like players in those types of situations, yes. But like, I think if you've got no excuses, like. You gotta go, right? You can't just not show up because I don't feel like it. You have to have some sort of injury excuse.
No, I'm saying the teams though. The teams might not want it. Like what you don't think we're gonna see somebody injured in this?
Oh yeah, there'll be injuries, I'm sure. Let's just see how they're gonna play in this too, right? Are players gonna kind of play up that hesitancy where it's like they don't want to like get hurt, but like, or are they gonna give it their all? That's something I'm gonna be curious to see. How is the intensity of these games gonna look like? Is it gonna be more for show? Or are they gonna play with some pride for their country? That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be something. I don't know. I'm excited though. This is like you're gonna get a lot of guys that haven't represented their countries ever really, and
it's been a while. Like it's been a long time, almost a decade since we've seen true best on best international competition. Even though it's very limited, 4 nations, it's something, right? It's a taste of what's to come next year in the Olympics.
Lee in the chat going, of course, Leafs fans don't want the best American going to the tournament. LOL.
That's funny.
That's funny, actually. Yeah, that's probably really true, actually.
Yeah, I think goalies we already kind of we got Saros, and then Lincoln is the backup, and then Lusteran. I think we already kind of mentioned those three, but yeah, those are my 3 goalies. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Saros, Lincoln, and UPL.
Yeah, those are my 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not really a debate there. I don't even know if there's anybody else you could think of there. Yeah, no.
Corpusalo, I guess, but no, I don't know.
Yeah, he's just so inconsistent. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if he pitches a shutout tomorrow, but I don't know if that's happening.
Yeah, make those last cases. I don't know. Those rosters are probably already. It's probably just announcing them at this point. They're probably already constructed. Yeah.
Okay, so that was our Four Nations preview. Let's hope for something spicy on Wednesday. I would love for us to be wrong on a lot of these.
I'm sure there'll be some home run picks where it's like nobody had them. There's got to be one per nation, I would think. That's like, what was that?
Did you see the whole Joey Decord stuff? But like, and then we can get off this Four Nations stuff. But I wanted to like rant about this for 60 seconds.
Okay.
Did you see any of this Joey Decord nonsense? Did we talk about it on the show?
I think it was Canada trying to get his representation or something because of their goalie situation.
Born and raised in Boston, like college hockey guy. You know. First ASU goal or first player from ASU to play in the NHL, actually, to be like an ASU guy. And just was a part of the program there. Like, love his story. Canada's goaltending isn't like a national state of disarray. I've talked about it on my show a lot with a lot of different people who have like done a lot more research on it than you and I have, but like, it's just been bad, and now, like, it's coming to a head in front of their face, and now we're looking better than them on paper, the United States, and, you know, they're trying to do anything they can. This whole Joey Decord thing was never going to happen because he's not eligible to represent Canada at the IIHF level. So even if he was a like Canadian, like everyone was like, oh, just rush a passport for Joey Decord, like get him a Canadian passport so he can play. That doesn't fix the problem at all. Like it doesn't even fit, like it doesn't even remotely, like he could play for Canada at the Four Nations face-off and then not be eligible to represent them at the World Championships. So, and like I credit 32 Thoughts, like those guys are really bright, but like I've been saying this for a week and they just finally said it today on their show. They were like, oh, like, you know, we just, you know, and it's like, well, yeah, that's how the IHF works. Like he's never played in Canada. Like he never grew up, like he didn't grow up there. He didn't, you know, like there are things that would need to happen before. So I don't know. Like it didn't make any sense ever.
And he's Joey Decord. It's like the way Canada's claiming for his
Yeah.
services. Like they think he's like Brett Hall over there. I remember like
Yeah.
when he played for the U.S. He was Canadian born, but like he played for the U.S. in like the World Cup of Hockey. But like Decord's decent, but he's not gonna. Is he really gonna solve their goaltending woes? I don't think so.
Yeah. How about you fix your development model and then
Yeah,
go
maybe
from
that's
there.
the problem there. Exactly. Yeah, there's something to be said for that though. Like what's happened to Canada's goaltending?
How about you pay
Yeah.
attention to the rules of the double IHF too, and you know actually fix what's going on. All right, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough international hockey talk. But looking forward to those rosters coming out. Give us something spicy. Give us something good.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, 3 games tonight. Outside of the Hawks, Leafs, Devils, Rangers. You know, it's been a while since we've done a podcast. I think you know Wednesday and Friday and you know next Monday. It's going to be, we're going to have a lot of, like I said, good guests. We're going to have on Hawks play the Rangers a week from today too. So maybe we'll try and get somebody on.
What a mess they are right now,
Yeah.
the Rangers. That's a topic, right? I mean,
I was going to say that would probably be like the NHL topic. Like if we wanted to talk about like one team here for a few minutes, like that would probably be it, right? You know?
yeah, I mean, what is going on over there? Like seriously, I mean, now you got players like
It's
Trouba and Kreider could be, you know, they're shopping guys like that now. It's like they need to make a change. It's like nobody in that team besides like Artemi and like Fox, like a lot of those guys, Zibanejad, like they're having tough seasons. You know, nobody's. I think Will Cooley's their second leading scorer right now. Will Cooley, like what? It's just Sturkin hasn't even been consistent. Like nothing's really going well for them right now, and it's curious because it's pretty much the same team. Like how does a fall off like that happen? Is very curious, and I think that's a team that many pegged to be a cup favorite. Not looking like it right now. I mean, right now they just got to focus on getting to the offs. I mean, it's a rough state of affairs over there right now.
Yeah, I think they'll still get there. I think they're
Yeah.
really far off though from being a cup contender.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Are they really going to trade Chris Kreider? I don't know. Like that's a real heartbeat guy that's been there for a long time. Like that would really signal to me that you think that there's significant flaws, you know, then you're starting to question everything you have, right? Like,
yeah,
is Zibanejad the right fit? Probably not, first of all, is the answer. You know, like Kreider's aging out, you know, Lafreniere's good. Is he great? You know, Panarin's getting older. Kapokako is kind of a bust. Like, you know, Vinny Trocheck is good, but he's on the wrong side of 30. Or if not, like he's right there. Like he'll be there tomorrow and isn't really that good anyways. Like is like the middle end of a second line center, you know? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like middle of the pack as far as second line centers go, in my opinion. He's not a first line center like they've been playing him, you know? And then if you're the Rangers, it's like, all right, now we're looking at another rebuild around, but this time around the pieces of like Shesterkin and Fox and K'Andre Miller maybe, and going from there because they do have a good back end. They do, you know, Ryan Lindgren is really good and Bryn Schneider's good and you know, Zach Jones is good and they have the pieces there, but up front it's just a freaking mess. And
yeah,
I don't know. It is a mess, and they're currently 14th, and I don't know. Everything I hear is like, oh, they're waiting for the Penguins to fire Mike Sullivan so they can scoop him up. And I'm like,
they think coaching's a problem there right now.
yeah, you need a different guy that's exactly like the guy you already kind of have. You know?
Yeah, it sounds like the Bruin situation all over again.
Yeah. Rangers stink though, in my opinion. They're not a contender. They're not a contender. Like you and Fox hasn't looked like himself either, and he's not really like a Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes type anyways,
No,
where
it's different.
you notice how like, you know, you're not always like, holy cow, like Adam Fox is really dominating this hockey game right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's more just like on the consistency front from him. But he hasn't had like the best season of his career, he would say.
Nobody there really has. I mean,
no.
even, Panarin's the leading scorer, and like he's had a good season, but even he's not, the rate he was last season. Even their best player, Shesterkin, like nobody on that team is really playing the way is good or better than last year, except for Will Cooley. He's like the exception to that. I think Lafreniere's had a similar season. I think he's been decent, but Kakko maybe a little better. But I mean, it can only go up from there from him. He had an awful year last year, but a lot of those top core guys, they're regressing, Yeah.
Do you actually think they'd trade a guy like Chris Kreider? I think Trouba's as good as gone, but
Trouba more likely than Kreider. I can't really imagine Kreider or anybody else. He's been a Ranger his whole career. I like you said, he's kind of a locker room heart and soul guy, and I know he's had kind of a tough year, but I have a hard time seeing them let him go. But Trouba, he's been a disaster. I mean, what an interesting captain pick that was. That went well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he's all, but it's a matter of when, not if. Yeah, for him.
All right. Also, last thing on this, and then we'll quickly wrap and try and do the best we can in the next 2 minutes here. Is the Devils and Rangers actually? Well, it is a rivalry.
I think it's absolutely still
a rivalry.
Yeah, I mean the 23 playoffs. I mean that wasn't that long ago. That was a pretty hard fought series, 7 games. And yeah, both of them are kind of it's good when they're kind of both competing like this. I mean, I know the Rangers have fallen off a little bit, but they'll probably still be in the offs. And at this rate, it could be a reverse situation where the Devils are like a high seed and the Rangers are a low seed. And they play each other in the playoffs again this year. But no, I think it's still a rivalry. I think those fan bases absolutely despise each other. Like I look online and see this dialogue. Like they generally do not like each other. The Jerseys and New York people. So that's kind of always fun to watch. And the games too are always pretty intense. So no, I think that's still a rivalry. Yeah.
All right, and then 10 games tomorrow. We're not gonna run through all of them, but some things that are catching my eye, at least. Original six matchup. Yeah, Red Wings at the Bruins. Just before we get Blackhawks at the Bruins, which we mentioned earlier, will be live streamed by Lee. Avs at the Sabres should be pretty good. Pens at the Panthers should be pretty good. Sharks have been really fun to watch. They'll visit Washington and take on the Caps.
Celebrini, Will Smith have been cooking lately.
Oh yeah, Will Smith, a 4-game point streak. And have you seen the stats though? That's like Celebrini home versus Celebrini away.
That's pretty fascinating. Yeah. So we'll see if he can reverse that trend. But yeah, at home it's like he's always due for something, but away he's kind of a ghost. So we'll see if we can find more consistency there. Yeah.
I think the better games are in the Western Conference tomorrow. You got Canucks at the Wild, you got the Blues at the Jets, and then you got the Oilers at the Golden Knights. So I think the more heavyweight tilts are definitely in the later part of tomorrow if you're looking for games. All right, that is it for us today. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Tell a friend to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Tell a sibling, tell a parent, tell a classmate, a roommate, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a partner, whoever, whatever you want to tell, subscribe with your work email, subscribe. We love doing this show for you guys and for us to be able to do this as much as we're trying to do and keep up with, and all these ideas that we're talking about, all the stuff, all the live streams and keeping it consistent, and all the fun stuff we're working on already now for the playoffs, that we already know the Blackhawks are going to miss kind of, but we're going to continuously push optimistically that they are going to make the playoffs. They're making the playoffs this year. Looking dead in
delusion.
No. But continue to hit the subscribe button. It helps us out so much. Follow us on Instagram, telling friends to do that too. I mean, and I know it's like, oh, these guys don't have a lot of followers on Instagram. Why are they telling us to follow us on Instagram? Because we don't have a lot of followers on Instagram. That's why. That's why. Oh, and it's like, oh, does it really help that much? Yes, it really helps that much. Even if you tell one person to do it and help out our show, helps us out a lot. Same thing with the 5-star rating and reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Some of you guys have left some really nice messages and comments to us on the section on Apple Podcasts where you can leave a review with your 5-star rating. That's cool. Spotify, it's just a really easy thing to do, but you can't leave a comment with it. But yeah, you guys have been so cool and so kind to us. And Lee and Justin are going to come back tonight with the post-game show. Raven's going to be running that one.
Hopefully be more positive post-game show tonight. I'm a little worried, but we'll see. I think we're due for a banger here, hopefully. Lee
live stream Wednesday against the Bruins. We'll have a show Wednesday morning too, so we'll talk about that again there, and then me and Justin will probably hold down the fort on that post-game. So that will be a busy day as well. But every day in the month of December is going to be a busy day. So make
Yeah,
sure you
for
are sticking with us, and we'll catch you soon.
All right.
Bye.